fuck is McClay?
Keith will know.
MANdotE?
It's MANdotE, but everyone says it differently.
I'll let Keith say it.
Keith says MANdotE. A lot of people, but it's MANdotE. But we just Manny Garcia. Either one.
Yeah.
Podcast, episode 89. Ryan Henry Johnston, marker.
You can just set it down.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. Don't want to set it up.
No, you're good. You're good. Just that. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, cool. Dope.
Check. All right. Action.
Awesome. This is the Bogcast. I'm your host, Keith Obit, with my co-host, Brian McClay. We are brought to you by Bang Salon. Come get all your hair needs, including cuts, natural colors, vivid colors, extensions, shampoo and stylings, all under one roof at Bang Salon. Find and message Bang Salon on Instagram at Bang Salon, at BANGDSALON. Use promo code
Bogcast
for 20% off your first visit. So come on down and get banged by Jordan. But if you really try to bang her, fucking kill you. Cool.
Check us out on Spotify, on iTunes. I think they might have a different name now, but check us out on Apple Music, on Google Play, all your favorite podcatchers. Make sure to like and subscribe, and find us on social media at The Bogcast. That's at The Bogcast.
Sweet. Thanks, McClay. We have a very exciting guest in the house today. He's a filmmaker, writer, director, producer here in Phoenix. His name is Ryan Henry Johnson. How you doing today, man?
Good, man. Good. You forgot porn star.
Oh, porn star?
Only to myself.
I didn't know that,
though.
dude.
Yeah.
We all are, right? We're all porn stars, right?
No, for sure. No, I appreciate you guys having me, though. Thank you very much. I'm a big fan of the show, so
Oh,
it's good
thanks,
to come
man.
on. Yeah, no,
Fuck
definitely.
yeah, dude.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love having filmmakers on, especially directors, because to be honest, I have directing aspirations, and I would like to pursue that by the end of the year or next year. And so I get to ask questions and learn from, directors and filmmakers
Right.
here and stuff like that. So I have all kinds of questions to ask you. But you mentioned you recently wrapped on a film called Scare Us for a horror anthology.
Yeah, no, definitely we did. I was working on, we just wrapped production and post-production, so it's officially done. We're currently shopping it out in LA to some distributors right now, but that was produced by myself and Jason Weichert, Falling Flame Pictures, as well as Charlotte Lilt. They're both co-owners of the company and some other really great individuals. Yeah, man, it was a great experience. Falling Flame Pictures, they're amazing. They're an up-and-coming production company out of Arizona, producing really, really good high-quality content. So, and Jason co-produced the feature with myself, and then Robin Sturgis is also another producer on there as well.
That's cool. Did you shoot it all out here in Phoenix?
We did. We shot all of it out here in Phoenix. We filmed in primarily Arizona. We shot a lot of it in Phoenix. We shot some of it outside of Phoenix, but still in Arizona. It was very important that we kept it all Arizona local, Arizona crew, Arizona actors. And it's a really unique concept, as an anthology, and for those that aren't familiar, like with an anthology, it's a series of like small short films that are basically comprised into one film. Where ours is different in a lot of different ways compared to a normal, like, typical horror anthology. The idea came about, I had this idea that I brought to Jason, and he and I developed it together, and then we connected with Falling Flame and got a lot of really good ideas, and really it was just a group effort. Everybody came together and really gave a piece of inspiration to kind of create it.
You even write it too?
Yes, yeah, exactly right. So Will Hirsch, one of my co-writing partners, helped me write the draft to an extent, but we also had more writers, and so
I'd like to get into that a little bit. I would like to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's I definitely love to explain it to you. It's some,
but the plot and the concept.
Right. So the idea behind it is an anthology series. And what it was is that I have a lot of friends, great peers of mine that are great filmmakers and directors. And a lot of us, don't have the opportunity to make feature films, but we're really good at making short films. So my thought process going into it was like, okay, where do we ever, these short films never really go anywhere. So then I was like, what if you could convince a group of filmmakers, independent directors, to all come together and each person focus on a small film that would be for a bigger essentially make for a bigger film, an anthology. So the idea came about because Falling Flame Pictures, basically what we did is we approached filmmakers in the community, and we brought a series of directors on, and each director helmed a different short. So the premise of the film is that it all starts with a town called Sugarton, which is a fictitious town in Arizona. And there's a bookstore called MANdotE Books. And MANdotE Books, it's like a little local bookstore in the small town of Sugarton. And so what it is every week, these locals of this town meet once a week together to share their short stories. And this particular week's theme is Scare Us, where everybody had to write a short horror story. So all of the main 4 members that are in the group that come together meet with the bookstore owner, Peter Metis of MANdotE Books, who facilitates the meetings, and they each share their horror short. What makes our film so different is that each main character who's telling the story, once they start their story, we go into that short film, is the main actor in that short.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we keep coming back to the skeleton, is what we call it, basically, which is the bookstore and these characters in the bookstore. But the really unique thing about ours is with skeletons and anthologies, they don't really focus a lot on them. Typically anthologies you might see in movies are like with just like a book, and every time they turn the page, a new story starts or something like that. Or they have films like do stop motion. Nobody's ever taken the time to actually build a plot around the idea of the skeleton of an anthology. So we did. And so what we did is the town of Sugarton also is dealing with an issue of this masked serial killer called Cutthroat, who was returned after a 15-year hiatus and started killing people in the local community. So these storytellers that come together in this book circle, we learn in the beginning of the film that there is a serial killer plaguing this town, and then the bookstore owner kind of, gets the group back on track. And then you discover at the end, they are themselves also having to deal with the serial killer in the small town, so they themselves are also a short, which is
cool.
really exciting. We've got a lot of plot twists and a lot of really cool things like that.
How many are there of them?
Of the shorts?
Yeah.
So we have 4 characters in the bookstore, so there's 4 short films, and then obviously, like as I said, the characters in the bookstore are also a short, so ultimately 5.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the 5th short film, The Book Circle, is really kind of a long form short, because the runtime on the film, about 50% of the movie is cutting back, and every time the short's done, we go back to the bookstore, and we everyone claps, and we go to the next person and they tell their short. So that's kind of how it works. And it was great because, as I was kind of mentioning, we had a lot of writers. What we did is all the directors that we brought on, all the independent directors that we had on the project, got to create and pitch their own concept and idea. They pitched us 3 different ones, and we saw which one we liked the most, and then they got to write it. So we allowed them to actually write what they were directing.
Yeah.
And then Will Hirsch and myself, we worked primarily on, along with Falling Flame, because they actually contributed quite a bit as well to the skeleton story, we worked on putting together a full draft for that. So it was
That's
cool.
a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. But it worked really, really well. The theory that Jason and I had going into it is we were like, it takes on average around 1 to 2 months of solid pre-production to do a short film, right? So we were like, okay, a feature is a huge undertaking, but if you got 5 independent teams that were all focusing on their own short films, and they were only planning like 2 months to do it for each one for pre-production, then in theory, if they're all simultaneously working together, then you could do the work of what a normal feature would take in such a smaller amount of time. And that was kind of a theory that we had, right? 5 independent teams all working for 2 months straight, but they're only focusing on their own shorts. And each short runs anywhere between 9 to 10 minutes to maybe 20 minutes total in length throughout the film. So because they're simultaneously working together, you've got these independent teams. Because every short had a director. And then for our cinematographers, we also rotated cinematographers. So we had 3 cinematographers total on the project. 2 of them each helmed 2 of the 4 shorts, and then we had a 3rd cinematographer, Aiden, who did.
Oh,
you guys
Aiden,
know,
nice.
yeah, you
I
guys
love
know Aiden.
Aiden.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
we had
Aiden.
Aiden came in and DP'd. We had Jason Sievers who DP'd 2 of them. We had Rich Robles come in and DP 2 of them, and then for the directors that we had a slew of different directors. We did. I co-directed one of the shorts with Charlotte Lilt, who's actually the main actress in the film. She actually co-directed Night Hall with me, and we worked on that together. And then we had Jordan Pilar and Carl Jensen. They came together, a directing team, so they helmed one of them. And then we had Tom McCoy helm one short.
I know Tom.
Cool. And then Ryan Colbert. Do you know Ryan?
I don't think so.
He's sick. They're all really.
So all these shorts are done, not just Scare Us. All of them are done.
No. Yeah, the whole feature
That's
is
bad
done.
as fuck.
Yeah, no, like I said, we went into it with the idea of like, okay, it could take, ultimately we knew post-production would probably take the most amount of time. So it was the theory to say that we only needed 2 months to really like do the pre-production of it, which was hard, but we got it done. I mean, we started production in August. We were shooting principal photography for a feature film in October.
Oh, wow.
And then we finished shooting the tail end of it in December. And then we were able to finish post out within 5 months. So from August to May, we got an entire feature script written, shot it, and then they got out of post-production.
Is every director responsible for like their own edit and like kind of just turning it in at the end, or is there kind of like a cohesive editor?
So it's kind of a cohesive thing. We gave the directors the option to edit their own shorts if they wanted to. Some directors chose to do that. Some directors had outside editors come in, and then I have like my own personal editor, Tyler Schneider, who I've worked with for years. He's phenomenal. I had him edit the skeleton, and then he also did a night haul. And then we had each of the directors submitted their shorts with either the editors they chose or themselves to do it, and then they turned those in. And then we made slight adjustments. Falling Flame Pictures would kind of take all the shorts, look at them, kind of see which they want to do, any kind of adjustments that they had. It was definitely a very like team. It was very a team comprised of a team of people coming together to really kind of make it work.
Bogcast's a very collaborative.
Yeah, and
that reminds me of like 4 rooms of Phoenix, but in Phoenix.
You kind of exactly. And then what the cool part is, because I was very big about having different directors, because everybody's a different, has different styles of horror, of what they like for being horror fans, and this is entirely a horror film. So all of the directors that came on had their own visions for color palette, cinematography. We didn't require any of the directors' visions to match cohesively with anyone else's,
they because stand alone.
Right, because all the storytellers are themselves in the bookstore, and they're all their own personalities. They all stand alone. So even though they're all the stars of their own shorts, they themselves
visually that makes sense. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Anyway,
and it works really, really well, because not only do you get different aesthetics for the film, from the musical score to the cinematography to the color palette, but in addition to that, it's also the style of horror. We have films that are about monsters. We have ones that are about demonic entities, ones that are about serial killers. Like it's all these different things in one, because people like different types of horror films. So this gives you a little bit of everything. So the goal was that, with a target audience, any demographic you can kind of hit across the board, because somebody who's 18 might like watching, more films that are more inspired by like Hereditary, you know what I mean, or The Witch or Midsommar, right?
It's like metal music. There's so many different genres within it that like are so different, and there's an audience for all of it.
Exactly. I mean, you have,
but usually everyone watches all of it anyway,
right? And that's the cool part is you get to experience all of it. So no matter what, we figure when somebody watches the feature,
cannabis cough. Sorry,
that's cool. They might walk away from the film being like, oh, this particular short I really connected with, or this was definitely like my style of like horror film that I like. And that was really cool about bringing all the different directors on. We really didn't want to put tight reins on them. We kind of wanted to let the directors really be their own creatives and how they did it, and their own style.
You want to let them have their, creative input into it and give them a little bit of leeway.
Right. So it was really cool being able to do that. And working with Falling Flame has been amazing, because they're a team. There's a lot of different members to Falling Flame Pictures. And they're a giant collaborative group, and each one has experience in different things, both in film and cinema, but also just in other aspects of.
So they're like a production company?
They're a production company, exactly. They're a production company. Jason Weichert is the CEO of the company, and then him and Charlotte were the first creators of the company. Charlotte Lill, his wife. So they came together because they, obviously married, but they wanted to come together and create something really great. And I've been working with those two for years. I worked with them all the way back when I did Woman of the Mountain for SCC, and it was really cool because when they were on Woman of the Mountain back in 2014, that was the capstone for SCC that I was directing for my senior year.
Oh, nice.
They came on that, but they didn't actually know each other. So they came on together and were on set, and then they got to know each other, and then they started dating, and now they're married and have a beautiful son.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's
so
like a family. You guys are like a family.
Yeah.
I've worked with Jason and Charlotte on multiple projects, both with two of them together in one project, like Woman of the Mountain, and I've worked with them on independent projects as well. Which is really cool. So I go back with those guys for years. So they know like my talent, my team's talent, kind of what we've all the people I know and the friends that I work with. My editor, Tyler Schneider, my production designer, Megan Cottrell, Brian Tucker at BT Productions, is a visual effects artist, editor. I mean, he does everything. I've known these people for, they're my best friends. I've known them for years. So we've all had the opportunity to do a lot of projects with Jason and with Charlotte together and separate. So they've always come out really high quality. So when the opportunity came to helm, and do a feature, I was approached.
Meant to be.
Yeah, I was approached by Jason to help produce with him. And
Did you direct Scare Us? Or
so I directed the skeleton. So all of the stuff in the skeleton, the bookstore scenes, I directed. I would say
that's the name of one of the shorts.
no. So Scare Us is the name of the feature. And then
Oh,
all
I
the
see.
short,
I'm
yeah,
an
yeah.
idiot.
No, it's
Okay,
all good.
okay,
No, it's
okay,
all
my
good.
bad.
Scarus is the name of the feature. So I directed Scarus, which was about 50% of the film. And then I co-directed a film called Night Hall, which was one of the shorts with Charlotte.
Okay.
Lilt, who is again the star of Scarus and one of the co-founders of Falling Flame. And then we had the other shorts. So we had Tom McCoy did a short called The Resting. Jordan and Carl's short was called Dead Ringer. And then Ryan Kohlberg's short's called Untethered. So we had the 4 short films, Night Hall, Dead Ringer, Untethered, The Resting, all fall under the Scarus banner.
I saw like a poster promo
Right,
somewhere. Maybe it was on your Facebook or something.
exactly.
I can't find it right now, but it's dope.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, everyone, we all had kind of our own, like I said, all the directors got to like name their own short
Oh
films.
yeah, here it
and
is.
what their
Yeah, it
titles
looks
are.
dope.
And what's cool in the feature is when the film
hell yeah.
when the film starts, like every time a new short is about to start, or we're about to like kind of transport ourselves from the bookstore into that short, the title comes up, its own music comes up, and then that short plays, and the next thing you know, we cut back and we're right in the bookstore, and everybody claps. And but it's a cool concept, it's like it's kind of like how we're all sitting here. If each of us told a story, you'd be the star of your own story that you tell. And, yeah, exactly that, and it's crazy because like. The idea never really changed. It evolved, definitely evolved. But originally, it came a long way from
That's the
4
best thing
people
about
in a
ideas,
bookstore.
man, is just evolving,
Right. So it's been really, really great. A great experience working with those guys. I love everybody in Falling Flame. They're just like, they understand like good quality work, and they're all very passionate people about film. So I'm hoping to work with those guys for a long time to come. And we've got some plans in the works, seeing as how Scarus is done now. We've definitely got a lot of other projects, including some sequel ideas that we have for this concept, because I loved being able to have my friends and fellow peers work together on a great production, and that like excites me because I want to try to help as many other filmmakers as I can. I figured this is a great opportunity as a film because it's a win-win.
Fuck yeah. There's not a lot of horror shit coming out of Phoenix either, so that's badass.
There's really not, yeah. And we're hoping to drop. We're figuring it out right now because the film is currently being shopped around in LA.
So for people not that are in like the film world who are listening, can you explain to them like that means shopping it around? So you're done. You're just trying to find what a distribution
right. We're in the
company,
process.
right?
Yeah, we're in the process of talking to a couple of different distribution companies. It's strange with films when you sell them because sometimes you might have multiple distributors, sometimes it might be one distributor. So we're in the process right now of talking to a lot of different distributors, because that's what you want to do when you have a project. You want to kind of
put
shop
in like
it
a streaming service, or
well, depending on the distributor you sell it to.
Yeah.
The idea is that you approach a different, you approach a combination of different distributors, because the ultimate goal is that they might all want it, and in a great scenario they start bidding over it. And all those distributors you're trying to sell to, let's say we sell it to Paramount. Paramount has their own platform and their own negotiations and deals locked with companies that do VOD, which is video on demand, theatrical release, straight to DVD, Blu-ray, Netflix, Hulu. Like they could have their own independent contracts with the company. So what they do is they basically purchase the rights to it for distribution. So they acquire the rights so that none of their competitors can have that film on their platform to market. And then they throw the Paramount banner under it, and then they shop that, or they put that out wherever they feel it's going to do best, or in a combination of markets.
Get that cool logo before it,
right? And then it's cool because with distributors, you're dealing not only with domestic but also international. So a lot of distributors already have international markets because there's a ton of international markets.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's not just domestic but also international, which is crazy when it comes to horror, because there might be horror films that don't do great in the United States, maybe like don't have the best rating on Rotten Tomatoes or didn't have the highest sales.
But they sell like a motherfucker.
But they sell, especially in other countries because they don't care as much about.
Directors who found a niche on making shitty films, but making money on selling them to those markets.
Right, yeah.
I've worked with those guys.
Right. So with us, we knew no matter what, the project that we created was going to look like it costs more than it did to make.
Yeah, the production value that you added. Right,
exactly. So, and that's a lot of it,
What I want to ask you is about your you say your approach. So you're approaching all these people. What is involved with this approach? Or do you have some type of press kit? Do you have like a Bible? Like,
right.
Are you literally going in there and like on a slideshow? Like,
so
this, like what, like, because
right. So basically there's different ways to sell and market a film, right? You can go through the film festival route, and a lot of times it can be a very long process. I can only say so much. I'm only allowed to say so much, because it's ultimately it's Falling Flames film. So I'm, and I'm contracted through Falling Flames.
Well, I'm more into like just for people who are listening, trying to learn about that.
Right.
You know
So
what I mean?
so for our approach, we had some connections to get us to the top, to the higher levels, to the people that make decisions quicker.
Okay.
Very much like it was very Hollywood. It's like all who you know. When what we did is our approach was that we actually created a trailer first. So we created a distribution trailer because ultimately it's very hard for a distributor to get a distributor to watch your movie, right? Whether you're at the, whether you're trying to sell it at film festivals or go higher, it's hard to have somebody who's going to give you that amount of time, an hour and a half to watch your movie. But you catch them and you hook them with a trailer if you can make a really great trailer.
I mean, that's pretty much the reel for the movie. I mean, in a sense.
Exactly.
So that's probably the most important thing.
Right. So we made a distribution trailer. And the distribution trailer that we created was a little bit longer than a normal trailer, but I think ours was about 2.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so after we got the film, we were finished with the film, we created the trailer. And then shopped the trailer out first. So that's the first thing we sent to distributors to look at, and that got them interested. They saw the trailer and they were like, "Oh wow, this looks good. I want to watch it." So then that was the whole thing. And then once you do that, then you can send them a screener on like a screener service to view the film, and then you can start talking negotiations after they've watched it. And some distributors might have notes or give feedback or things like that. So,
but you don't ever have to like physically go in and like kind of talk to them to pitch to them. Does that make sense?
I mean, you can. It kind of depends. Again, because there's so many different routes. In my case, ours was a little different because we already have somebody who works with FFP.
I see.
Who's a part of FFP, is one of the owners in FFP named Jeff, and he works in marketing. He's brilliant guy. Knows his stuff. He's got a lot of experience, and so he knew the right people to get in touch with in the right context to allow us to go directly to a lot of distributors. But that's not always the route you'd go. Film festivals are another really great route for those that kind of want to know it, like shopping your film out at film festivals, because what happens is a lot of times awards that you win at film festivals, the more prestigious awards you win, there's times where like the grand prize is getting, having your automatic submission to another festival.
Yeah.
So that's another route to go. Other people will do proof of concepts, like where they'll release like a scene from their movie or a trailer, as I said, online publicly, to build an audience around it. And then like, wow, have you seen this film? It's like an independent film out of whatever state. This is amazing. And then it builds traction online, and that's another route. Like I know a lot of directors who do like, I've had directing friends who've done like fan films. Like I think they just had that Gambit fan film that came out not too long ago.
That was great.
That's a really great platform for directors to either pitch concept ideas for films or even just to pitch themselves as directors. And a lot of directors have gotten their start that way too. Look at Andy Machete. I mean, that dude's amazing, and he directed It, and did Mama.
Yep.
But his entire thing was built on a 2-minute film, the original 2-minute YouTube film Mama, and then Guillermo del Toro saw it.
Really?
And he brought him to LA and then produced him to make Mama, which made a bunch of money, and then he got the contract for It, and then from It he got It Chapter 2, and now he can do whatever he wants. But
I love those stories.
There's a lot of really good Star Wars ones that are fucking amazing, where you could tell they just use the IP to tell a really good story and show off their editing or directing skills or whatever. And the next thing you know, like they're like, we like that idea, we want to use it and bring you in to do a little. And I think they're turning it into a series.
Did you see the Boba Fett one that those guys made?
I saw the Darth, the one that I'm talking about.
Out, or is that just me?
It is. I think it's.
I'm like, this side's
it
wonky,
is.
but I didn't want to like stop.
I'm totally going. Let's go no headphones.
Yeah.
Let's go no headphones.
We could try no headphones.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean.
We just got to make sure we're on this.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
All right.
This is the first time we've ever done no headphones.
Oh, great.
We got to get rid of this piece of shit headphone.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
So, the one I'm talking about is the Darth Vader one, that it shows like Darth Vader's inner monologue, and it's a like shortly after he got turned and he put on the armor, and he hates the Emperor, like disdains him, and he keeps trying to kill him. And it's this scene, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's about the inner monologue of Vader. And they liked it so much that the fans were so excited about it that they got funding to make a whole series.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's like people have really good ideas and good concepts. That's a great avenue and route to go as well,
Yep.
So
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know that about him. I didn't think fan films were really a tool to
It's one of the ways. I mean,
yeah.
it's a harder route to go, and you got to be kind of careful when you do fan films because, like, a lot of times if it's really good and it gets a lot of views, you get in trouble. Like, remember the Power Rangers?
Dude,
like the
guy,
rated R Power Ranger. He got in trouble, and then like
rated R.
He blew up because
he blew
of that.
up, and then like they ordered him to remove it. And then people liked it so much they signed a petition, and then they were like, "Okay, never mind, you can put it back."
Yeah.
And then that like ended up being like a dark, gritty Power Rangers.
Good.
So yeah,
and they had a couple of the actors that were original Power Rangers in it, didn't he have?
He did, yeah, yeah.
The guy that
rated R Star Wars.
he had the guy that the guy that here in the Valley at the con, I think, threatened the Power Ranger guy. I think he was in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, they're talking about the guy with the gun, the crazy fucking dude.
He went after
He's
that
in jail
dude.
now. Good, too.
Yeah, fuck
fucking
him.
crazy, dude. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a
fuck any
McClay
mass
tangent
shooter.
fact.
Yeah. No, but it's cool, you know? So yeah, kind of, I know it was like a long way to answer it, but that's like, when it comes to distribution, I mean, that's a really good avenue. For me, ultimately, the way I look at it is like this. If you make something and it's good and people like it, the people will do the work for you. Like they will, social media has opened up a doorway for filmmakers that was never possible before with our ability to upload concept and allow it to spread like wildfire. I mean, it's a place, social media has created a platform where you can go from having one person watch your video to having 10 million people watch your video in a period of 72 hours. You know, it's allowed for a bigger audience. And for me, I know, people always like rate films based on the people who review them. They're like, oh, I know what the reviewers and Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm always like, fuck that.
Oh, me
like,
neither. I don't
fuck
go with that.
Let's get into
I'm going to
that.
go off of
Usually, actually, if it's shitty, it ends up being good.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk
just
about Rotten Tomatoes for a second, because you actually when you brought it up earlier, it kind of got me thinking. I wanted to know what your thoughts are on how Rotten Tomatoes can sway.
Oh, complete.
I mean, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a monopoly. I mean, they've monopolized it. You know what I mean? Like they can make it, they can sway anything or make it seem a certain way. And like there are production companies out there that will invest so much money into a film, they'll make side deals to have Rotten Tomatoes favor something specifically.
That's bullshit.
In order to get like a target audience or people to want to watch it. And at the end of the day, like, it's shitty because it affects people, but there's a larger group of people that are too smart for that shit. They get it. They're like, oh, I want to see it for myself.
The people in the world, I think, know. It's bullshit.
Exactly.
I mean?
Exactly. They're going to see it for themselves. And for me, it's all about, I don't ever look at like, when I look at Rotten Tomatoes, I don't give a shit about, the critics' reviews. I look directly at the audience score because those are, and even then, it's good, but I don't even really try to use it at all. I just kind of avoid it and say, fuck it, I'm going to go.
Involved in the project.
Well, and everyone's like different about it too.
Or,
like just because everyone hated it, you know what I mean? One of my all-time favorite films, shit, I shouldn't say this.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite fucking films, believe it or not, is Gigli. With Ben Affleck and Jennifer.
Okay,
that fucking
Wait
film
a minute. Is that a Kevin Smith film?
Yeah, that's the Kevin Smith film with Jennifer Lopez. Not Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez?
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah,
Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck.
Yeah. Wasn't it a Kevin Smith film?
I don't
I'm thinking
think
of
he
Jersey
did.
Girl.
Oh, I'm thinking of Jersey Girl.
I was like, I don't think Kevin Smith did that.
I know what Gigli is. Yeah, she's
but
It was a remake of something, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was a remake or not. I just
But you love that
fucking
movie?
know that I liked it
Because that movie was panned by
it's like the
everybody.
second worst film, like considered the second worst film in cinema history. It's pulled out of theaters within like 2 weeks. I think it only made like $2,500 in the movie theaters.
Is that why you like it? Is because it's bad?
No, I like it. It's just a great fucking movie. Like,
what's so great about it?
It's got all the elements. It's great comedy. It's got heart. Everyone like shits.
Gigli.
Yeah, Gigli.
Yeah.
And like, I think it was great. Like everyone, like the thing about it that I find is I talk to people about it and they're like, "Oh, fuck that film," or like people are like, "Oh, it's so shitty," and I'm like, "Well, have you seen it?" No, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I didn't even
that
watch
happens
it.
with a
It's
lot
like,
of shit.
Yeah, and you're like, you didn't even
1 star.
but see, I liked it a lot.
I love reading bad reviews on IMDb though.
Everyone
some of them
shits
are
on that
hilarious.
movie, and I really like it. There's like a sick ass monologue that Ben Affleck gives.
Martin Brest. I don't even know who that is.
For the director.
The director. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's probably why.
That was his first and last movie.
Yeah. He's done. He's not doing shit.
Right. So, no. But
what other like shitty movies do you like?
I think it's a great. Have you seen it?
No.
All right. Well, then go watch it. That's my fucking point right there.
Great.
But Ben Affleck gives like a really compelling monologue, or he gives Jennifer Lopez gives a really compelling monologue to Ben Affleck, but in that moment, there's just an exchange of the two characters that you can just see.
Well, they were falling in love. They were falling in love on that film.
No, and then Ben Affleck gives another great monologue later on in the film. Like, everybody shits on that movie, and it's one of my all-time favorite films. I love it.
A lot of people shit on Ben Affleck. Like, he's a bad motherfucker.
Well, like,
he's
a
bad director.
Like, for Batman, I thought it was fucking. I love it.
I agree. I'm so stoked we're talking about this, because this is a great fucking topic for me right now because of the Snyder Cut. I am so happy that I was a big fan of that.
I thought you didn't give a shit about it.
I didn't. The movie was terrible. That's why I didn't give a shit about it.
I thought you didn't give a shit about the Snyder Cut.
No, I fucking love it because that original. Well, let me make my point first. I think that the Batman, the Affleck Batman, is one of the best. It's not better than Christian Bale, but it's up there. It's not bad. I like the way he played it, but I love the original story that Snyder was doing. The Dark Superman, the first half of the film, where they fight Dark Superman. It's evil as fuck.
Wear the black?
Yeah, he's evil as fuck. And the second half of the film is Darkseid. And they completely fucking botched it. And Whedon is a fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? Or not Whedon.
Maybe you should explain like what happened, because Snyder's son didn't he kill himself?
Yeah.
And Joss Whedon came on the set.
Yeah, Joss Whedon came. And here's another thing.
Was it his son or was their daughter?
Or daughter? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, no, it was their daughter.
Okay, daughter. Sorry.
No, it's all good. So yeah, because Snyder's wife is a producer on that. She produces a lot of his stuff, and so their daughter killed herself, and then they only had like 3 days they were allowed to leave the set to deal with it.
Yeah, fuck
and they couldn't tell the production crew anything because they didn't want to upset filming. So like Zack Snyder had to come back to set, and like Jason Momoa like walked up, was the first one to give him a hug, was like, welcome back, high five, and he couldn't tell Jason what happened. He couldn't tell Gal, he couldn't tell Affleck, like none of them knew. So they didn't find out until a couple of weeks later when rumors started swirling around on set. That's because ultimately he came back and he couldn't handle it, which is why Whedon came in. Everyone was like, oh,
we didn't fuck that film up, man.
I mean, at the end of the day,
he did what he could.
Okay,
there was such a better story there that he totally changed the story. He totally quit. He dropped all the cyborg
coming in
shit.
As a director for another director's film isn't easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was almost done.
Barely any prep.
Yeah, it was almost done. It was basically done.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the same time, it's like when we talk about like prep for directors, like look at fucking Ron Howard with Solo. Right, so the directors of 21 Jump Street got fired.
I cannot wait for the documentary of the behind the scenes on that movie.
Oh yeah, dude,
because I love that shit.
He had 10 days to prep. He had 10 days to prep to come in, and he did a phenomenal job taking over Solo in the amount of time. Or look at like Jackson. Like a lot of people don't know. Like everyone like gives Jackson shit for The Hobbit, specifically like the third one. But what a lot of people don't know. So like, that original idea, The Hobbit, was supposed to be helmed and directed by Guillermo del Toro, not Peter Jackson.
Sure, I remember that.
And
I was sad when he fucking like gave it up. He
had
to
dip because he was like 2.5 years.
Yeah, he was just on the project forever. Right. Yeah, I remember
so
that.
The original Lord of the Rings had like 3 years of pre-production to like get everything put together before making it. With The Hobbit, Jackson had like 3 months. It was like 3 to 6 months, and so the entire production team had to recreate the vision of what Jackson's vision is versus Guillermo's, and like. When he was doing it, when Jackson got to the Battle of Five Armies, like he said that like he was, he had such small amount of prep time to get it. He was frustrated and like stressed out the whole time, but still trying to like keep a positive attitude for his crew. And you could see like how he gained weight and he was losing sleep and losing his hair, and all this was happening because of the weight, of the shoulders of like hundreds of millions of dollars on his shoulders, especially after coming off Lord of the Rings, which was a huge success and won so many Academy Awards. So when he got to the Battle of Five Armies, Jackson had to contact the studio, and let him know, like, look, here's the reality. I am fucking winging it. I'm winging it. Like, I'm coming in day of because I haven't had any prep to do it. I need to shut down and regroup because this is an important pivotal scene. It's the biggest, battle of all 3 of the films. And I need to, reevaluate and refigure it out. I've only had a couple of months of prep. So they shut production down for a bit and let Jackson kind of go and get his head right, and which makes sense because, my God, Can you imagine 3 months? I stress when I have 3 months to do a short film, or, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so he had that time to they shut production down, then he came back and but dude, like, what a boss. He was like, yeah, literally like Hobbit 1, Hobbit 2. He's like, by the second Hobbit, I started like just flying off the cuff. And as a director, he was able to do that because he's got so many years of experience and he's done so many films before, but that's fucking baller. Like I like fly off the cuff on The Hobbit. Like,
Well, you know the coolest thing is
and when he got to 5 armies, he finally was like, I can't fly off anymore. Like, this is too important, you know, of a scene. And so he just.
I love watching all those diary videos on YouTube. You could watch like all the behind the scenes stuff of the Hobbit
can see,
on
like,
there, and you could see him fucking just
the stress.
He gets like 2 hours of fucking sleep.
Yeah.
Fucking, he even had Andy Serkis as like a second unit director doing a lot of the
phenomenal.
shit too.
Andy Serkis is a great director.
Yeah,
like I think he's
sure.
gonna continue to just make really great films because he's a great director.
And as stressed out as Peter Jackson is, he's still fucking smiling with the actors and trying to fucking maintain a good time
and you have
on
to.
there. You know, I know
that's
that's
the thing when you're a director. Like you really are. It's the way that I look at it. You know, when it comes to director, it's like, oh, you're the captain of the ship, but you kind of are. You know, you have your head. You know where you want to go. You're trying to plot the course. You're telling the crew member, and all the crew members are all the different people that are on the boat that are helping. You know, the executives pay to finance and build the boat. You know, and the producers are, you know, the company that hires the captain to sail the boat. So it's like it's all kind of a working piece. But I mean, yeah, you have to keep that pot because the second the captain like shows any signs of losing hope, you know, or not having like, you know, losing sight of the end goal, it affects everything. So you have to keep that demeanor, and that's hard. So you could imagine somebody like Schneider going through such a traumatic event.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
Well,
you know, it's tough.
Well, just really quick, someone I couldn't remember who, but described directing as like constantly just solving problems but making it act like there never are any problems,
right?
You know, because that's what it is, because there are constantly problems, constantly,
right?
But you have to act like to everybody on there that everything is in control no matter what, you know, because you're right. I've been on sets where the director fucking like looks stressed out or loses it and shit, and then that fucking artistic vibe gets sucked right out of the fucking room.
It's called professionalism. That's exactly what it was. And that's with any situation, including podcasts, live streaming, film. It's professionalism. When you're not professional and you let that happen, it's like a cancer.
No, definitely.
It causes everybody to rethink.
I'm really big about energies, and I'm sure you guys are too.
Yeah.
I'm really big about, you know, like the energy you put out comes back to you. Like, you know, I've you know, The Secret and The Alchemist. I've read The Alchemist. Like, you know, it's like what the energy you put out there is what comes back into the universe. And when, you know that it's there, it exists. It's like when somebody can walk into a room and not say shit, and you can look at them and you just know they're upset, and you immediately, it starts to trigger you. There's just this energy that you feed off of somebody.
You're like, fuck that guy.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, you feed off of each other's energy. So the vibe on a film set is you want to keep everybody wants to be happy. I mean, at the end of the day, like all those people are there. Like the film industry is not a job that you wake up in the morning and go, guess I'll become a gaffer. You know, guess I'll become an AC. You know, guess I'll become a producer. Those positions people have to fight and claw and work their fucking asses off to get to those places to be in the film industry, because so many people try to be in the film industry and so few ever make it.
Well, let's talk about your road to the film industry.
Just keep it going.
Yeah, let's talk about your road to the film industry. You talked about going to SCC.
Yes, Scottsdale Community.
So when did you decide you wanted to, and how, like, did you get into, did you walk on set to help out one day?
Right. Yeah. So I've only really ever like wanted to be like two things in my life, right? I wanted to be a superhero, right? And I want to be a director. Those are like the only two things I ever wanted to be. I wanted to be a superhero. So, when you want to be a superhero, what do? You make costumes, you put shit on, you run around your neighborhood and save people. And so for me, that was what I did. I did all kinds of costumes,
make up stories and shit.
Yeah, make up stories. That's what I wanted to be, And finally one day my mom sat me down and she was like, "Look, you're 24. You can't anymore, and I realized, okay, no more wearing costumes." So, no, but I always knew I wanted to be a director. I really knew, like, early in high school, middle school to high school, I just had such an eccentric imagination, probably, coming from the whole superhero shit. So I always knew I wanted to do it. And so what's interesting for me is that, like, I always knew I wanted to do it, but I'm from Reno, Nevada, originally.
That's where I was born there, dude.
You were born in Reno?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here,
no,
really?
I swear to
we
God,
got to come back to that.
Yeah.
Did you go to high school there?
No, we came out here when I was 5 or 6. Yeah, 5.
I moved from here when I was 2.
Ah.
Yeah. I went to Hawthorne. I fucking, you know Hawthorne?
No.
Okay, so Hawthorne, you've probably driven through Hawthorne.
Okay.
There's, it's like if you go through Fallon, right? And there's a town maybe about 2.5 hours outside of Reno. It's got one streetlight in the whole fucking town. There's a big military base there and a big army depot.
Yeah.
That's Hawthorne. That town has one streetlight. I lived in that town for like 5 years.
Wow.
Before we moved to Reno. So yeah, so I was in Reno. You know, with film, it doesn't really exist in Reno. There's not really much there, college-wise and stuff. There was. I took a couple of cinema courses, but
let me ask you something real
Yeah.
quick about Reno. Then, what is Reno about? Then, like, what is it? Is it just the gambling? What is it?
well, I mean, there's not just gambling.
I mean, but what is the reason that Reno is surviving?
Right. Well, gambling is definitely one of the big reasons why. But we have a lot of great things. We also have prostitution. That's fun.
Yeah.
We got gambling.
911.
We don't shut down. We don't stop selling booze at any point in time. That fucking we sell that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's all Nevada, right?
Yeah. No, so Reno, that's gambling. The casino's really, it's a tourist. That's the thing. It's a tourist city.
Yep.
And for us, a lot of our infrastructure comes from California. People come in, you know, and Tahoe specifically.
Yep,
People
Lake
come to
Tahoe,
Tahoe
yeah.
to like Tahoe's fucking gorgeous. And
Yeah.
Tahoe's divided between Nevada and California. So people come out there, they bring their boats. You know, they take weekends. They come to Reno to gamble because you can't in California unless you go to, you know, indie casinos. So they come to Reno to gamble and party. So it's touristy. So like right now, like we've been hit super fucking hard because of COVID. COVID was like massively detrimental.
Yeah,
because,
you ever shut down a casino. You
right,
never shut down a casino.
And like so many of my friends, like I always tell people, like, I mean, I was raised in Reno. I lived in Reno close to 17 years before I came out here. I love Reno. I love the people. I have a lot of good friends that live in Reno. It's a wonderful place to live. It really is like the biggest little city in the world. Everybody knows everybody. Had a lot of wonderful memories in Reno. And that was hard because I loved Reno so much, but at the same time, I wanted to pursue film. So I had an opportunity to come to Phoenix, where there was a small school out here, a trade school called API, which is Alpha Pacific Institute, and they're a media broadcast school that does broadcasting as well as video, right? And so they teach you kind of editing the basics. So I went there for about 6 months, took their 6-month course. I have family out here, so I was able to stay with somebody out here. I couldn't afford to go to LA out of high school and go to those film schools. I just couldn't afford to do it. But the interesting thing with me is that I moved out here in 2011. And I was 25 when I moved out here. So I was in Reno after high school. I wanted to go to film school. Couldn't afford it because film school, a lot of the film schools that you want to go to, like New York Film Academy, Brooks Institute of Photography, and Santa Barbara, like are so fucking ungodly expensive. USC, it's like, you know, $100,000, $150,000, you know, dollar program. I couldn't afford it. So I told myself, okay, you know, eventually I'll get to film, you know, I'll just pick up a job for now and work on scripts and kind of get there. Well, then you get stuck in that like mode of life. You know, and so out of high school, that's kind of what happened. I got stuck in that like 40-hour work week, and I was working, and then by the time I decided to come to film school, I was working at a call center for AT&T, and I was finally just kind of like, you know what, fuck this. Like I have an opportunity to finally go somewhere and pursue something. I want to do it. My parents were like super supportive of it because they always knew that I was like, you know, film was what I wanted to do. And it was just unfortunate because we weren't in a position where it's like you can't shell out $150,000, you know? So I said, fuck it, had an opportunity and went to API, moved out here to go to film school. And then from there, I met a couple of guys that were instructors and teachers and students over at SEC Scottsdale, which I didn't even know they had a film program. Yeah. And they were like, you don't know. And it turns out Scottsdale Community College is one of the best film programs in the U.S. Yep. They're phenomenal. They're, you know, and so
We've had many guests on here that talk about
SEC is where it's at. Sure. So I went to SEC, checked out their place because I was going to move to LA after API and try to like start out there. And then I saw SEC and I was like, oh my God, I realized like how much more equipment there was and lights and all the stuff that I didn't learn at API because it was such a smaller school with only a few students versus coming to like the big leagues, you know, and seeing what an actual like, you know, full stocked grip house look like and, you know, full sound stages and, you know, and everything that they had to offer, you know, for not even like a quarter of the cost, less than a quarter of the cost of what a traditional film school would cost.
Yeah, and you probably get more not one-on-one. If you're at a school where you only got 3 people, that's just about one-on-one.
Right.
Yeah.
SEC has much bigger classes, but here's the thing. The thing with film school, it's like anything in life. You know, you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. So for me, I knew that I had an opportunity. It was interesting for me because when I went to SEC, I was 25, and going there was hard at first because a lot of my classmates were younger, you know, and it's kind of it's community college. It's a mixture of people, but a majority of my classmates were younger. And I just really was like upset with myself because I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, why didn't I pursue this when I was 18?
I did the same thing with, I went to school for music recording when I was about 25, 26. And I know exactly what you mean. Everyone's fucking, you know, 18, 20, 21 years old. Yeah, I know exactly what you're
talking about. But then I realized like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, that's when I was meant to go because you're old enough to understand the opportunity of like, oh shit, I have access to all this equipment. I can use these cameras. I can use these sound stages for nothing because it's part of my tuition. fuck yeah. So because of that, I was that perfect age where my instructors looked at me like an adult, not like a young kid. Because in my class, when you start, you go, you have a class full of 18-year-olds.
So they trusted you more?
Right. They looked at, but I also was young enough for the younger kids to be like, oh, Ryan's tired. I want to work on his stuff.
Beer?
So, yeah, no, I did not buy anyone beer.
Just kidding.
You did. We need to please strike that from the record. There was no illegal beer purchase.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But the point is that I had an opportunity and I took advantage of it. I mean, I fucking took advantage of it. And, I didn't give any of the instructors a reason not to trust me. I was always honest about my shoots. They saw that my prep was there. I took my time. So when I got at SEC, on average, they have what's called personal projects, which is where you can have a film that you want to do and approach an instructor about doing it, and then they'll allow you to use the school's equipment. So it's not just about doing a class project. You can do your own independent projects.
Yeah.
And on average, for students to get personal projects is hard. You have to make sure you have a good record. You got to make sure they don't just hand them out like candy. You have to really.
Well, it's expensive equipment. They want
right,
to be
exactly.
and they want to make sure like you're serious.
Right.
Too.
So for me, when most students leave SEC having done either no personal projects or some of them might do one or two.
I've never heard anyone mention a personal project.
Yeah, it's called a personal.
I know, that's why I'm like loving this.
So
dude.
Sean Mitchell at the time was the head of the film department there, and so Sean really liked me, because he could see that I was passionate and I gave a shit and I cared. So when I had left SEC, like I said, on average, most students finish one, maybe two personal projects. I had left SCC with 5.
Holy shit.
By the time I got out.
Are these like shorts?
Yeah, these are shorts. And I built my entire initial reel for directing out of that school. See, I knew the opportunity I had. I ended up going to SEC for 3 years. It's normally a 2-year school. I went for 3. So I could do the capstone as well as my own personal projects. And I built an entire reel. And then I was very fortunate enough to meet some of my best friends today that I still work with, Brian Tucker, Tyler Schneider, and Megan Cottrell. Yeah. I got to meet them, and they all had their own field of expertise that they wanted to do. So when we came together and put them in one,
you got this,
And I got my first personal project film was Helsing. That was the first one I did, a vampire one, which is based on a feature concept that myself and Will are currently developing into a full feature. But I went to SEC when Jason Sievers went to SEC, and Jason Sievers is one of the best cinematographers I've ever seen. He's one of the top dogs in Arizona. I highly recommend working with him.
What's something he's done?
Sievers has done a lot of different. He's done a lot of different stuff. He's done commercial stuff. He was on Scare Us. We hired him for 2 of the shows. He helped me with Helsing. He's worked on a lot of smaller projects. The point I'm trying to make is that
what kind of camera does he shoot with?
So he has an Ari.
Nice.
He has an Alexa, and then, but I mean, he can shoot on any camera.
Are you picky with that stuff?
I'm not really too much. I have like certain preferences, but I myself have never shot on Alexa. It was interesting with Scare Us because we actually shot dual camera with different shorts of different cameras by the director's preferences. So we shot both with
2 completely different cameras.
Yeah, with Red
and then just
and
try
with
to
Alexa.
like color grade it later or something.
Right?
Or?
Yeah. No. Well, because Brian Tucker was our colorist on the
cool.
project, and again, one of the best colorists, one of the best visual effects colorist editors out there, and he's also a shooter as well. He's a cinematographer, so he does it all. So we were able to really. So when you look at the footage, like to any average person, when they watch it, you can't tell the difference in terms of what cameras it was shot on. The lenses you definitely can, because we shot on a variety of different lenses as well. We didn't want to restrict
but
the
that
directors.
happens in a movie anyway.
Yeah, every director has different preferences. For me, I'm good with whatever, really. And I guess it's kind of hard to say. I'm a little spoiled, I guess, about it because I get to work with Brian Tucker, who is brilliant, and so he can take footage from literally almost anything and know how to properly, knows how to properly cut it and export
the
it.
editor,
Yeah, well, he works primarily in the post-production side. Tyler Schneider is my main editor. He's been cutting my stuff for years and will continue to cut my stuff for as long as he let me pay him to do it, because he's amazing. But Brian handles a lot of the post workflow for coloring and visual effects, a lot of that side of it. So because of that, he knows how the proper format works for the post-production workflow of things. So he can take, could shoot on a Red, he could shoot on a DSLR, and there might be some slight differences, but both are still going to look cinematic. I shot a short film that's on my website called Rogue, and we filmed that a couple of years ago, and we shot that on like a 7D.
Yeah.
And people thought it was a Red. People watching like, oh, it's a Red. It's like, no, we shot it on, DSLR.
There's a few people that shot on DSLRs and they make it look like, legit.
The biggest thing about it that I've noticed, the biggest thing that stops people from having really, because I get asked that a lot. People are like, how come your stuff looks so expensive? Why does it look so cinematic? You know, why does the footage look different than other films I'm used to seeing? The biggest factors to that are the two things I think that people don't have a knowledge about that affects them is lighting.
I think that is the
Properly lighting.
absolute most important thing on a film set.
Yes,
Especially that relationship with the cinematographer.
Right. Lighting is huge, and then coloring. And here's why. When you light an image, the biggest problem I see is that people don't expose properly. See, they expose an image on a monitor or on their camera monitor for what the look of the film they want, right? They're like, oh, it looks the way I want it to look. But that's not how the final image should look. The idea is that if you want to shoot a film and you want it to be dark and moody, then you should be exposing more. Like your exposure, you should shoot for higher exposure and see the shadows, see the blacks on camera. That way when you get into color and then you start dropping the exposure and capturing it, that's when you start seeing the shadows fall and it starts giving you that look you want. People in production shoot for the exposure the way they think they want it to look, and then when they get into coloring, there's nothing there because it's literally just blackness. The camera has no data to pick up, so you have to overexpose an image and then take it into color, and that's where you're able to bring it back down and grade it properly, you know, and kind of, you know, work with your S-curve and be able to pop up and bring up those colors and those exposures, because a camera can't color what it can't see. You know, same thing when people overexpose. Sometimes people overexpose too much, and you see shots of people where it's like two people in a restaurant, but on the outside on the street is just like white. It's just blown out.
Oh,
you can't see
yeah,
anything
I've
from the
seen that.
detail because, you know, because they're exposing for what's inside. So for me, the people I've had the privilege of I've worked with Brian Tucker for years. We got together and hooked up on Hellsing in 2013. He's my best friend. And he's incredible. And I've had the privilege of working with him over the years, and it's amazing how much he's better and better and better with every film he does. But Brian knew early on the proper way to film and the proper way to shoot something. So like when we had the opportunity to do Hellsing at SCC, we had him come in, we had Jason Sievers come in and DP it. When we had shot Hellsing, that was like next level shit for SCC for me. And that's just what I was being told. My instructors had never seen a film that looked the way Hellsing did. They were like, this is crazy that this was made here. Like it doesn't, you know, because it had such a cinematic look.
I love when that happens, when that moment happens.
Well, it was like pulling everybody together for a
Magic.
common purpose. You know, I met all my best friends in film school, and I just got really, you know, fortunate that I happened to. That's why I think it's weird how it worked out. I ended up going to school during the exact same time as everyone else did, even though I was older. But it had to be at that exact time in my life, at that exact moment. Had I gone to school one semester earlier, I never would have met Megan or Brian or Tyler. Again,
It's weird how things work out.
Yeah, just three of my best friends that I met. Well, amongst all the other film friends that I met, I never would have met them had I just been off by a couple of months. So here I am at 25 years old, thinking like regretting like, oh, I wish I would have gone here when I was 18. If I had gone to SEC when I was 18, there's not a chance in fucking hell I would have been nearly as successful at that school, because I wouldn't have realized the opportunity I had. I would have got out at 20 and been like, oh shit, now you're in the real world. And in the real world, you have to pay for film sets, you have to pay for camera rentals, you have to pay for lights, you have to pay for a crew. All these things that SEC allowed me to do, you know, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do, you know, outside of that world. So I used that to my benefit, shot all these projects, had a reel, and that's what allowed me to start. Once I got out, I was able to pick up commercial work and do a lot of film gigs over the last few years. But I mean, at the same time, like in Arizona, it's hard as a director to survive here. So like I still had a regular job, like working on the side and like doing that, but I was passionate and kept pushing and pushing and pushing to be able to get the opportunities of where I'm at today.
Let's talk about the Arizona scene a little bit. I want to ask you what you think about what's going on here and where we're heading
for a film. And so okay, so as far as like where we're heading, the biggest challenge that Arizona is facing right now is there's no tax incentive for film. There are a lot of great filmmakers here. There's a lot of talented individuals, a lot of hardworking crew members here. But because there's no tax incentive, we lose a lot of work, right? A lot of films. So the biggest thing right now, and this is kind of one of the big things that we're at this point, like working with FFP, Falling Flame Pictures. They're a new up-and-coming production company. Scaris is their first feature. Our goal, we have a lot of different goals, but one of our biggest goals is to be able to try to use that feature to build a platform to kind of help showcase just how great and talented the individuals in Arizona are as filmmakers, to then allow to try to see if we can get a tax incentive to come back. And that's why we wanted to keep everything. That's why Falling Flame Pictures and myself, it was very important for all of us to make sure that we kept everything local crews, local talent, for that exact reason.
Yeah, it's a good representation of
and
I think talent.
I think right now we're in a great place. There's a lot of friends I have that are great directors, some that have made great features here. Scott and Jeremy. Scott Condit, Jeremy Kemp just did Max Reload and Leather Blasters, and they made that with two really good friends of mine, Robin Sturgis, who also was a producer on Scaris, also a producer on that film, and Jesse LaBelle, who's another very talented director.
Oh yeah, I was in the music video. That's where I met you.
Yeah, exactly. So they made Max Reload, and it looks sick. I saw the trailer. I want that film to do well. We all do, and we should all want that film to do well, because not only is it our friends and our peers that made it, but ultimately that's just another film you're going to have on the market that came from Arizona. The creatives
brings the spotlight on us.
I want anyone
the spotlight's big.
to do well for sure, anytime. I love it. When I see like someone that I know or I've even worked with, and they fucking do something that kills it or whatever, I'm like, fuck yeah, I get so excited.
Yeah, because it's
like we need that here. In fucking,
you don't. There's
Phoenix,
no time. There's no time for fucking like bullshit animosity and rivalries.
No.
It's like I always laugh when people are like that, because like I've met people that are like, oh, it's it's like a competition, and I just kind of laugh, because I'm like, you know that there's like more than like one director in Hollywood, right? Like that there's more than one person specifically in this, in your field of film. Like who gives a shit? Like we should all be coming up together to do what we want to do. It's like there's no competition. You know what I mean?
That's why I like the film bar environments on the AZ
right.
nights.
Well, and you have to climb that ladder. Like to get to where we want to go, it's a fucking climb. Like it takes time to get to that level, to be in the studio system as a director, like shooting narrative film. It's not an easy task. It's not at all, especially today, because unlike, the 80s and like the early 90s, like it was honestly easier to become a filmmaker and a director during those times than it is today, because today anybody could go to Best Buy, buy any camera they want.
Sure, yeah.
So the amount of people that you're trying to,
there's more bullshit.
Yeah. The amount of people that you're trying to, I guess in a way, compete against to an extent for jobs, have an ability. But for just starting out at the bottom, it's like literally you see this ladder, and when people are like, oh, I'm trying to be the best director, then I'm like, you're a local director. I kind of laugh, because I'm like,
I do too,
you realize like you're fighting at the bottom of the ladder. Like you haven't even fucking started climbing it yet.
A lot of people in Phoenix think that like someone in LA is going to see something here in Phoenix and be like, we should get that guy. You know what I mean? But really, you have to like put yourself out there where that fucking train station's at, you know what I mean?
Right.
And fucking get in the mix of it. And like you said, work up that ladder. And a lot of it is that lucky break. You keep working hard, working hard. That one day you're at the right place at the right time.
No,
and you're fucking doing something big.
Exactly.
That's how do you think all the other big directors got to where they're at? You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's 100% true. I mean, like
I don't mean
to
be a
today,
bitch. I got a bitch bladder today. I'll be right back again. But sorry.
It's like today, man. Like I work. I got to work with Jason Weichert. And I met Jason, but it's like same thing. It's like had I not went to film school when I did, I wouldn't have met Jason when I did, and then I wouldn't be. And now here we are. We met in 2014. Here he is in 2020. And we're working together, and we just got done making, producing our first feature film, with people like Robin Sturgis, like just great individuals, and Falling Flame Pictures. But the point is, it's like, that connection allowed for that. It was a long fucking road to get to that point, but we're here, and it took time, but ultimately we're here.
Yeah, you put in the work.
Right. And you've got to put in the work.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing. At the end of the day, for me, the way that I look at it is like, when somebody's like, oh, I'm a director, I'm this or that, I'm like, the first thing I said to the guy, I'm like, all right, let me see your work. Well, no. I don't talk. Just, I've done this. I don't know. Just show me your shit. Like, I'll tell you in 2 minutes. Like, if you, I look at it based on the work. I don't go off to somebody talking all day. I'm just like, well, let me see your shit.
Yeah, of course.
Let me see your work.
You want to see what it is.
And that's really going to tell me if it's like, if you're serious or if you're just talking, if you really are good or if you just think you're really good. You know what I mean?
And on top of that, those people that are just starting, you gotta spend some time and put in the work and
gotta
learn,
be humble
and
like,
learn how to be a filmmaker.
There's this like sense sometimes from people where they feel entitled to shit, and it's like, dude, nobody owes you shit.
And work with each other. That helps more than anything.
Just be positive, have good vibes, like be fucking chill. Like it's all you got to do. At the end of the day, I mean, filmmaking should be fun.
Fuck yeah.
And so for me, like for the Arizona film community, I see us. The people in this community are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Like, from the actors to directors, like there are just some amazing filmmakers in Arizona. There's just good people here. And the problem is, as kind of you pointed out before, Keith, was like, it's hard to get recognized in LA with what you're doing here. So you have to make stuff here that's going to be able to build a foundation for yourself to be good enough that when it does go to LA, it gains that attention.
Yeah.
Right? And in order to do that, you got to work together. You got to work together. You got to fucking put the work in and, and be happy for one
Actors
another.
do that shit too. They don't ever, they just stay here in Phoenix and think that like someone in LA is like, we should get that guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
It's
but when I go to LA and I tell them about Phoenix, they're like, Phoenix has a film scene? Like no one even knows out there. Like no one even gives a fuck.
So that's our biggest, like that's the big platform for me, like that I've been trying to push like with this film with Scare Us, because it is all Arizona based. We had one actor come out from LA to be in the film. We had one actor come out. Tom Sandoval came out to be in the film to play the role of Peter Meditz, our bookstore owner. Otherwise, and we have like a 21-person cast in the film. The other 20 individuals are all Arizona locals, phenomenal Arizona local talent and actors. But, to really kind of push toward that and keep an Arizona crew and keep the cinematographers that we shoot here and the post teams here, the directors, like everything was about Arizona, 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 and that's important for us, But to build a foundation, you're right. There's times where you have to like, you got to really kind of try to be in the scene in some capacity. For me personally, so I actually moved to LA about a year ago. And I
was confused because your Facebook says you
right.
live in
So
LA.
I moved to, well, what happened was, so I was out here for, again, like, last 7 years making movies. And then I moved to LA about a year ago. And to kind of, because again, I was like, I've got to be able to try to make contacts and meet people in Los Angeles to really kind of get the wheels turning. And then I got a call from Jason when they were just putting together the company for Falling Flame, and he was like, "Hey, we secured financing. Let's make this thing." And I was like, okay, but I don't want to like lose my place in LA. So I've been back here over the last year working specifically on Scare Us, from the pre-production through the production to the post-production. But I live in LA, so I kind of go back and forth. I still have my place in Los Angeles, and I'm going to keep my place in Los Angeles. But even though I'm living in LA, I know the potential of Arizona. I know the potential of the film community here and the actors here. There is a untapped fucking resource here of people that are, and there's so many amazing places to film in Arizona.
Fuck yeah.
So even though I live in LA, I'm still, while I'm trying to network out there and meet people, I'm still, if you ask me today, like, would you rather shoot a movie in LA or Arizona? I'd be like, no, Arizona. Because like it's more affordable and the passion I think is higher here.
So you're all that being said, what does Arizona need to get to that next step? What can we do to help us get to the next step?
The first thing we need is to get recognition. There's a film scene out here, and you do that by making really good content.
Yes.
That content allows people to get an understanding, and then allows ears to turn to then get us a tax incentive. Bigger productions, because the above the lines are all in LA. So the above the lines that are coming out to local communities, bringing projects with them and hiring the local crew out here to shoot, aren't going to come to Arizona because there's no tax incentive. Why would they? Tax incentives are fucking huge.
They just fly right over us and go to New Mexico.
We've lost so many films. We've lost films that are supposed to be stories about Arizona to New Mexico.
Fuck yeah.
We've lost so many films because the thing is, when a production is going to spend $60 million of their $250 million budget here, like $60 million, a tax percentage, a write-off of that, fucking 4.5%. That's fucking significant.
What's holding it back?
To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure.
We've been trying to figure it out ever since we started this show.
I think a lot of people have been trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? I know, what is it, AP Arizona Production Association?
Yeah.
Those guys like put in work, like trying to like fight for it, and and have brought up many times, through the Arizona legislation to try to get an incentive back. So
it would be nice to try and maybe get one of those guys on. Somebody from that, yeah.
That's a great idea, yeah.
So the APA, I mean, they fucking they're trying hard to build that and establish that. So for me, the best way that myself and Falling Flame Pictures thought we could approach it was to make something that could really go the distance and stand out there, get picked up by a bigger distributor in Los Angeles, knowing that it has roots in Arizona, that all the talent and crew came from Arizona to kind of help build that recognition and kind of like build that idea. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I felt that was the best way that I could contribute. Because
no, you're doing your part. I just
so
like more like
I
everyone
wish
else.
I wish I knew. I wish I had better answers for why as well. I don't know, especially like now with everything going on with the COVID crisis and how much money Arizona has lost.
Fucking weird now.
Yeah, it's like it's in the film industry is in a really fucking weird
especially
spot
like in
right
LA.
now.
It's
I have
really
friends,
I'm sure
spot.
You do too. I mean, you're living there. Like I have friends that live there. People don't realize that like it's not just actors. It's like there's more crew people living out there than anything, you know what I mean?
Right,
And they
no.
don't have jobs either. And I
No,
don't know if they're just
exactly.
going back to their home cities where they can't, where they're originally from. I don't know.
It's so hard. It's so hard. COVID's fucked everything because nobody knows, right?
No.
Nobody really knows what's going to happen. And everyone was a lot of the studios were banking everything on Tenet. They were waiting to see a Tenet get released.
I cannot wait for that goddamn
and
movie.
It keeps getting pushed.
I know. It's
because they wanted to see how the film was, how Tenet was going to do to decide whether or not
I'm
they
just
were
going to
to
go in a
release
hazmat
content
suit, dude.
theaters. I don't even, yeah, right? No shit. Like Dwight in The Office.
Yeah.
What do any of you own your own hazmat? You own your own hazmat suit? Well, I mean, after I rented it, it's like after the fourth time that I rented it, I just figured it's better to invest.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you need a hazmat suit 4 times, Dwight? Fucking love The Office.
There's very few filmmakers that, I mean, I try to watch as many films as possible, but actually bring me to the theater, and Christopher Nolan is obviously one of them, but I don't even know whether I would go now if it came out, but I want to see it so fucking bad that maybe I would wear a hazmat suit. I'm not joking, actually.
It's in a weird spot, dude. It's because we've never experienced this before, And
you know what? Next year is going to be really weird when everyone's wondering why there's no movies or shows.
I'm curious to see how
because everything's usually shot now that comes out,
Yeah, no, I know for sure. A lot of stuff got pushed, but you're right. A lot of productions, we got really, really lucky. So we filmed we had pickup days that we needed, which we shot in January, just before the COVID really started coming around. We had wrapped up all of our principal photography. So we were able to work in post, which ended up, it was weird because for us, COVID was actually kind of an advantage because all of our post guys, all the other gigs they had got canceled. So they had the time, the availability. That's why we were able to turn around. That's why we were able to turn around such an effective post schedule and get our film done in only a couple of months because they had more free time. So we were able to get it done, So it was fortunate in that way, but it's also unfortunate now because we're in the process of talking to distributors in LA, but getting them to watch your film is hard because people don't want to spend money right now. So they're not watching movies because they don't want to buy content, so for us, we that's a challenge for us, kind of shopping, scare us around, but we've actually gotten a lot of positive responses as well from distributors who have been looking at it. So it's kind of a mixture, but the idea being that if COVID hadn't happened, it would have been significantly easier to get your film in front of multiple distributors or more distributors than we might be able to today, because a lot of them are laying people off. They don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the money, they're not making money, right? So they've got to reserve that, so they don't want to spend money on new content because no one knows when theaters are opening back up. It's just nobody knows.
Yeah, the whole theater thing is odd,
it's just fucking crazy, and it sucks, and it's sad. Because all my friends are film people. I know I can count on one hand how many people I know that are not that are not in the film industry. I have a ton of friends in Reno that are not in the film industry. But I can count on one hand how many people here that I know are not in the film industry. Everyone I know works in some form of film. Whether it's crew members, actors, post people. So it's just it sucks because it's you feel for your friends too. You just it sucks.
When you say content, put out content. What type of content right now should people be putting out? Anything?
I mean,
or is there something better than others? I see micro content just going crazy right now.
For me,
I love that micro content. The stories you can tell in such a short period of time.
Well, and that's the thing today. So a lot of today's demographic and target audience, right, 18 to 25. A lot of them don't want to watch 2-hour movies.
No attention span.
Unless it's fucking Avengers, nobody wants to watch it.
Yep.
So they want it as quickly as possible, which is why, to answer your question, why the strongest content right now, honestly, is shows. It's TV shows that can be comprised into 20-minute episodes, little episodic pieces. You can put together 10 episodes, and they can watch an episode and then choose to watch another one later. That's why Netflix is striving so hard, and Hulu is striving so hard with a lot of original shows coming out, even more than original films, because that's
Dave is awesome.
That's what people want to see. You know what I mean? They want to see the short form content. But that's the challenge. That's why I felt, when the idea of Scare Us came about, myself and Jason were this could work to our benefit because our target audience wants to see short content. Well, these are short stories. They're in one film, but they're still not going to feel like it's an hour and a half movie because you're watching mini shorts.
Yeah, it's fresh.
You
gets
know?
over-
Yeah. So that's probably some of the best content you could put out there is like anything that has to do with like a film structure or little series parts. Like I watched fucking Dracula on Netflix, the 3-part Dracula series. Did you guys watch that? It's fucking dope. It's dope. I was so good. It was so good. I loved it. I love the story, and I don't want to give anything away, but it was fucking sick. I saw the trailer, and like the trailer didn't really do it justice. You watch the trailer, you're kind of like, okay, but then when I watched it, I was like, holy shit! It's like when I watched Wind River, that feature. Have you seen that film, Wind River?
Mm-mm.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It's got Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch
yeah,
in it.
yeah.
Dude,
I've seen
it's
that.
I remember
fucking
that movie, yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, I remember that.
The trailer though is not that impressive.
Yeah.
And it's
You
a
know
bummer,
what?
you know,
When
'cause-
trailers are shitty, usually the movie's good, and then when the trailer's really fucking awesome, it's usually the movie's shitty. Doesn't it seem like that?
I mean, it can. Not if it's like a Christopher Nolan film or a Scorsese
What do you think
movie.
about Tenet?
We were just talking about that.
Yeah,
Oh,
we can't wait
fuck.
for
It's gonna
that.
be a
I missed it.
mindfuck, dude.
I was really gonna want to
Dude,
talk to you
Christopher
about
Nolan
that.
is like, because
He's
I
my
have like
god.
my directors I really look up to, you know, for different reasons. My number one though, by far, number one is Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, nice.
And then Peter Jackson is like right behind him, and then John Hughes. R.I.P. I love John
That's
Hughes.
cool,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm a
Huge.
massive '80s. Fucking
Yeah,
80s
Breakfast
dude.
Club for me is
Oh,
one
bro.
of my top 5, brother.
Big Trouble in Little China, bro.
Oh yeah,
That's like
dude.
all
fucking
day,
one of the
yeah.
greatest movies
Yeah.
ever.
We'll get into '80s in a minute because I love that shit. But Nolan is amazing, dude. Like he's so like in tune like with what his vision is, but he brings just such a personal parts of himself to it. You know what I mean? Like the stopwatch you hear in like Dunkirk is his actual stopwatch, you know, and he drinks from like the same, like he carries a big thermos around on set with coffee, and like he has this like old soul mentality into the projects he creates and crafts, and he does it with such love. He puts himself into it.
He's my number one for sure.
I mean, yeah,
I love him
he's
for,
next.
like-
I mean, there's so many great directors out there for so many different reasons, you know.
You know, one thing that every actor says that works on a Christopher Nolan set is how he has this ability just to create the set like it's an independent film, even though there's this crazy blockbuster action things going on, but you just for some reason never notice it because he's just so fucking connected with all the departments and the actors.
It's interesting because Nolan, you know, like Fincher, right? Like Fincher's a brilliant director.
Sure.
Like Fincher,
in a completely different way.
Yes,
just
and
doing
his
thousands of
ability to
takes
build
and then
tension,
putting together.
Like
and-
Fincher's the only director I know that could like film a fucking mailbox for like 5 minutes, and everyone's in the theater like, "What's in the mailbox?
Yeah.
What's, you know?" And it's just like, and then it'll
Kind
just
of like
cut
what's
to,
in the box.
and then they'll just cut to something else, right? But Fincher, same thing. It's like he's brilliant because he analyzes everything, and he has, you know, so every director's, I think, has strengths in their own way as directors. I think one director that gets a lot of shit, but I think he's fucking super talented, is Michael Bay. See, here's the thing. People shit on Michael Bay's movies. I agree that, like, you know, story character-wise, he doesn't quite do enough good of a job of you caring about the characters. But when you look at the actual craft and break down filmmaking, Michael Bay is fucking brilliant. People
believe,
have no concept how hard it is
No,
to
I
shoot
do.
action scenes.
I know exactly what you're talking
Right?
about. I don't enjoy. I used to kind of enjoy some of his movies. I'll admit. I mean, he has some fucking good ones.
just
in there,
like
you know what I
original
mean?
Bad Boys was sick.
But like
Yeah.
fucking, I've watched all that behind the scenes stuff. I've been on sets and I'm blown away how just to choreograph not even just action sequences, but with all that CGI, fucking
it's-
all those
well, like
crazy
Transformers,
pyro
like,
explosions.
being able to like
I mean,
choreograph
the
a
blocking
scene.
on that
Yeah,
is
the
insane.
To be like, oh, you're gonna run from this transformer, and Optimus Prime's gonna come down here, and it's like, okay, action, and it's like just a fucking stick with a tennis ball, and you're having to react to that. So like, I think like Mike, like
No,
perfect
I
example, like
agree.
Michael Bay. It's like every director. I think certain directors have the ability to bring certain things to the table in projects where there might be a certain strength, while overall they may not be the best director
Totally.
in some cases, you know.
But it's easy to shit on, you know, a director or whatever, but you know,
because you're not doing it.
exactly.
And then when you're
but
there, you're like,
you
"Fuck,
can't
man."
do what Michael Bay does without having a little genius. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. That's what I'm
I know,
saying.
yeah,
Like it's
I
like he
agree.
doesn't get enough credit.
I agree. I wouldn't
you
put
know?
him as like my top, 20
No,
directors.
and he's not. He's not
but
my
you're
top.
right.
He's
Yeah,
not
for
my
sure.
top either. You know what I mean? He's really not. Like but I've had to shoot action scenes before just on small indie things that I've done.
Well, actually,
and I've been like, holy shit! Like even shooting a small little thing is hard. I'm just like, how the fuck Michael Bay do this shit?
That's why I
You
want to
know-
talk to you about your directing.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. It's all
No, I was gonna go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to ask you like questions about your directing style and like maybe a little bit how you operate on set, if that's cool.
Yeah, no,
Because
definitely.
so like for example, if you have like a 3-page scene that you're shooting on a day and it's just a couple actors and stuff,
Yeah.
like Do you do like prep with the actors, like blocking, like or rehearsals, like before, or
Right.
like how do you find the scene? You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense.
And then also my next question right
Yeah.
after that, you could probably just bleed into is the relationship you have with the cinematographer as far as, do you just tell him kind of the framing you want and you let him kind of add his little, like with the lighting guy and how the look is and shit? Does that make sense?
Right.
Or like how involved are you with it after you do all of that?
So I'm actually going to tackle the second part first, and then the second.
Okay,
part.
okay.
Yeah. So, or the second,
yeah,
first part second. So, when I'm working with a cinematographer, everything happens for me in pre-pro. So anytime I'm doing a project, I always start everything with a pre-production notebook, and I plan everything as much as I can to the T, and I try to have an additional backup plan for anything that could happen on set. That way, if A falls through, you've got B, C, D, and you got.
Is this storyboards too?
Yes.
Okay.
So that pre-production notebook consists of many things, including storyboards, overheads,
Tone.
shot lists, color palettes,
Color
tone,
palettes,
concept art is a huge one for me that I do. I'm real big about concept art. Wardrobe color palettes. I try to break every aesthetic down to its core, and then also lighting diagrams and lighting overhead. So I try to break everything down to its core to get the idea and the aesthetic of what I need. Right. And the cinematographer, when we watch films, music videos, I use other things as like to pull inspiration from. And a lot of my stuff also is built on like visual style, where I know I have a specific shot in mind and I'll build off of a shot to kind of get to that blocking sequence. So when I'm on set, I'm very involved with my cinematographers. But ultimately, when it comes to a lot of the technical aspect of lighting, camera, I let them handle that. I don't try to like operate.
Let the professionals be professionals.
Yeah, I try to focus more to give my attention to the actors. But the prep.
But you're telling him like, I want that. He knows the storyboard,
yeah, exactly.
so he knows
I'm
the
able
shot.
To, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We'll select lenses beforehand, or I'll look at. I have a director's viewfinder that I'll use on set to get a feel for something. But when we go into that, we know specifically what we already need. You know, and that's the thing with like, because some directors are so different. There's directors that go on set with no shot list, and they just they block out the scene and they see it, and then they go, okay, let's do this. You know, like Scott does that. Ridley Scott is like one of those where he's had days where he goes on set and he'll just have him like do the scene, and then he'll like pick where for me, I have to know. I've got to know going in.
That's
like,
how I think I would be. I would love to be prepped.
But I'm really big about collaboration, and I like it when my cinematographer even challenges some stuff to say like, oh, I don't think it should be. And I always kind of defer to them because they are the expert. So that's in pre-production is really where it allows me to build that relationship with cinematographer, so I don't have to spend so much time on set going through everything because it's all in the pre-production notebook. Mm-hmm. For my actors, whenever we're putting a scene together, the first thing that we do, we'll do a read through first before anything else, just a cold read. Mm-hmm. I break down and talk to my actors about the specific character. So the first thing I do whenever I'm getting ready to shoot something with an actor is I'll do a one-on-one. We'll go to coffee, and we'll just talk. I'll have them read the script, and we're not rehearsing anything. We're just talking. We go to coffee, and and I try to give them as much information about what inspires the story, where the characters go, and everything I can get to work on that scene. So I don't even really talk as much about the scene. I give backstory to the characters first.
So they can build a character.
Right. Correct. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point, I then give them a couple of days with it, because the thing is as an actor, you want to give them the space to be able to create and feed off of the conversations you had with them about who the character is. Mm-hmm. So then when it comes in time for rehearsal, the first thing I do is I don't really try to give much direction initially when we're in rehearsals. I just let them kind of do their thing, because film's all about collaboration. And if you try to bring an actor in and try to tell an actor specifically what you want, they could have an idea or a way to evolve something that's in the script that you never even thought of. And then they pull it off on camera and you're like, holy shit, that was brilliant. Where did that come from? Whether it's a line that they improv or some blocking they improv. So when it comes to the rehearsal aspects, I let them first do what they want. Then I make slight adjustments from there, or I give suggestions, and we just have a conversation and we talk. That's kind of my style. For how I direct. I'm very high energy on set.
These rehearsals before the day on set or of the day?
Both. So I'll usually do a blocking of the scene before we shoot it to get an idea of where camera placement will go with the actors. But a lot of times in earlier stuff, we tend to do rehearsals beforehand. And it also depends on the scope of the project, right? Because some projects like music videos are a lot easier with artists, because I really want to let the artists do their thing and I want them to be able to express themselves musically. So I don't give as much direction. I'm more or less, the only direction I'm really giving on a music video for a band is like cheat your body out to camera so we can see that beautiful face.
How many music videos have you done?
I've done quite a few. I know, so on my website, I broke my website down into 3 parts. So I have narrative, music video, and commercial, and I have 6 music videos on my website. So I've worked with a variety of different musical artists, including Wade Coda, one of the finalists on American Idol. Yeah, plug Wade.
Yeah.
No, he's great. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to work with
I
him.
asked Wade to come on the show, actually, but like I think the whole COVID thing happened.
Yeah,
so.
no, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I talked to him not too long ago, actually. But yeah, so like with music videos, it's a little bit different, versus like with narrative, with shorts and things like that. With short films, I like to give a lot more backstory and just kind of like help kind of allow the actor to build the world. Because ultimately, for me, it's if the actor takes their time studying the character and really looking at the words on the page and infusing them to be a real life situation, even if it is something that's fantasy we're shooting, a real life situation. For me, ultimately, it builds a trust. So when we get on set, if an actor makes a choice to do something, I trust that they know that character almost even better than I do.
That's why you cast
at this
them.
point, right?
That's why you cast.
I let
actor.
them take exactly. I trust them with the character, so I, they become that character, right? They become.
Sometimes you need to tell
it's,
actors that, and I'm saying that as an actor because,
right.
like, you know what I mean. You need to know that,
and
to
that's
get that
thing,
confidence.
The
that
big
makes sense.
thing, the big thing too about directing that I think a lot of people maybe don't quite think about when you initially start, especially for people that are aspiring directors themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing I can tell you is that one of the biggest advices I can give is that one of the big things you got to realize is that how you relay information and how you explain information to actors you're working with, they're going to receive that information differently. You have actors that are, you have actors that receive information in different ways. You have actors that are method. You have actors that are hot and cold actors.
Let's just be real. Actors are crazy as fuck. So it's
well, but the thing is, like, it's like if I'm working with two actors, one actor might be a method actor, where they're in that character the whole fucking time, the whole day. During lunch, they're still that character.
Yeah.
And I've worked with a
another
lot
one's a
of
theater
brilliant
actor.
actors like
Another
that.
one came from theater.
Right.
Yeah.
Another one's theater actor, where they're a little bit bigger. Another one's a hot and cold actor, where somebody could literally be like, "Oh yeah, I was fucking this girl last night." Like, action. Oh, you want me to cry? And they just start crying.
Totally, yeah.
And they, and it's hard when you're on set, because when it's like when you've got a hot and cold actor working with a theater actor, for example, you have to dial them in a certain way, versus somebody who's method, it can be tough. So the thing with directing is that you have to also understand and realize that, like, you can't just direct one certain way all the time. How you give information is going to be different.
It's specific to each person.
Exactly, exactly. When I worked, I worked with Rich Anderson. I worked with him on Woman of Mountain. He's a brilliant actor, but he's a method actor. And so you have to, when I would give him direction, I would have to talk with him almost like I was a character myself, and I have to communicate with him. And
I gotta say something here. That's so fucking weird to me. That shit
method acting?
Yes, that shit is so weird to me. It makes me feel like
he's not in the world.
I'm not in the acting.
Actually, I got him his first line in a feature just recently.
That shit feels so pretentious to me, man. Like,
I think everyone's. I personally,
it does.
Well,
I don't know.
I
admire it myself, because I think it takes like an immense amount of dedication.
It feels like this motherfucker's been playing World of Warcraft for a little too much, as in like role plays in real life. You know what I mean? It's like,
it, to each their own.
I personally, when it gets done right, like say, what the fuck is his name? The greatest actor ever of all time that played
Marlon Brando,
no, Lincoln,
Laurence Olivier.
The guy that played Lincoln.
Oh yeah.
Are you talking about Daniel Day-Lewis?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Fucking Daniel Day-Lewis.
Fucking Daniel Day. I can't believe
he is one of the best. I personally don't feel he is.
He's
the
amazing.
Best. He's amazing. But he's not Denzel. But he's not Denzel. But he's not Denzel Washington.
I agree with you. You know why I agree with you? Because I think they're both equally as good. But Denzel, you're 100% right, because I use him as an example when I tell people how what happens when a good actor is acting good is you forget who they are. Like, you could be watching a movie with Denzel and you're looking at Denzel playing a role.
Right.
In Training Day,
his monologues are just fucking fire.
In Training Day, you totally forget that that's Denzel. You think he is that.
That's why I can't wait
role.
to see his son in fucking Tenet.
Dude, he's just like
Man on
tell
Fire.
him what,
he still takes acting classes to this day. Did you guys know that? He still takes acting classes to this day.
Yep.
That man, there are only a few handful of actors in Hollywood. If I ever got the opportunity to work with, if I got the opportunity to work with Denzel Washington as a director, I would freeze the fuck up. He'd be like, "What do you want from me?" And I'd be like, whatever you think.
That's got to be hard as an aspiring actor when you start working with people that you admire, and then you kind of gotta
exactly
draw that line. It's hard, like you're like, hey, can you do this again? But inside you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm directing Denzel.
Right, you have to like keep it cool and shit. So but no, Denzel Washington is my favorite actor. I think there's a lot. Daniel Day-Lewis is definitely fucking up there. I mean, he's amazing.
What I was trying to, my point was like, yeah, it does seem like that, but when it's pulled off, I mean, the roles are always just ridiculous, you know.
You're 100%.
But I just see it's weird, like say when. I feel like the media carries away sometimes. Like, for example, when Jared Leto was the Joker.
Yeah, that shit wasn't
I don't
true.
see him in the middle of takes. Like, I know he's sending rats and shit and all that goofy shit, but like, I don't see him in the middle of takes being like, I'm the Joker. And like the fucking director's like, hey, can you go over? He's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I see him still kind of being Jared Leto. You know what I mean? Like,
he did the rat shit to try and make it so when they see him as the Joker, they have a little bit of
I think it was more to like try to like entice his his like, you know, his cast members, you know, his
entice them,
to kind of like you know, but I don't know, but everyone's you know, different, I guess. I mean, you know, my thing with is like with method acting is like if you're not hurting yourself or hurting anybody else, fuck
I
it,
agree.
I don't give a shit either.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah, you just have to let the person do what they do.
When Jared Leto was like sending Will Smith like use condoms out, that's when I was kind of like, all right, that's a bit.
Come on, bro.
That's a bit far, bro. Like,
I don't know if that's true though, dude. You really think that shit's true?
I don't fucking know in Hollywood anymore.
Yeah,
dude.
that's what I mean, man.
I don't know. I mean, I put it this way: no one said it's not. All I've heard is articles that it happened. Because I've never read one where somebody was like, it didn't happen.
It's salacious. It's something that people that sell fucking
TMZ fucking pop culture.
Yeah, fuck.
You know what I will say?
And I get that shit. I like that shit too, like everybody else.
Side note, you know what I will say about TMZ that I do like? I mean, a lot of the shit's ridiculous, but one thing I fucking love about TMZ is that anytime you click on the link when you're like scrolling through your phone to look at something, the first fucking thing that happens is they show you the fucking video.
Yeah.
That's the first, because it's so frustrating when you see a link to something and you have to scroll through a fucking article and play and it won't load. And you're like, oh, I love how the fucking ad plays perfectly fine, but then when I get to this video, I can't watch it or it's clickbait. Shit pisses me off. One thing I would give TMZ for, credit for, is when you go to their fucking page, it's the first video right there. You click play, that fucking thing plays all the way through with no issues, and then you can click off. I fucking love that. I'm like, that's how every setup should be. You know, it just starts right with that shit.
Yeah,
you know, versus having to fucking watch another video on some other Collider fucking, you know, Facebook, and it's like,
I'm
here's
OG
a suave
Collider guy.
Collider
fucking sucks. I used to have it in my favorites on my Facebook. I'm an OG Collider guy, but
dude,
their ads are so fucking ridiculous now.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
you know what else is
Collider.
Fucking Comic Book Now. Their ads are getting fucking
Comicbookmovie.com got like that too.
Yeah,
Comic
dude,
Book
it's
movie.
just
I
like
used to be in all those sites.
Fucking aggravating.
So you know what? Don't go watch those. Just go to Tales from the Flip Side YouTube channel and get all your information.
Oh shit! Quick plug.
So, but so that's kind of answer your question. Like I said, for me, it's a lot of it's really working one-on-one with the actors beforehand, giving them as much information about the character they can take home and research, and then I kind of give them the trust at that point that they're going to know that character enough. So when they come to set, they've got adjustments, they have things they want to adjust. Mm-hmm. I don't stop that. You know, if it's not quite what my vision is initially, I instinctually will usually try to get at least a version with what I want. But when I get into the editing room, I don't just not look at the other takes.
Let me ask you this really quick. How many times is it not your vision? Is it most of the time where, you know what I mean?
Okay,
because you always have it in your head, and obviously it's not going to always come out like in your head. So
here's what I'll give you. So the best way to explain that shit is how I look at directing, how I view directing. Because you mentioned earlier you had a guy that mentioned about the quote about directing, you know, and looking like, you know, you're doing everything you're not. So here's how I view directing. This is what I tell people when they ask me, like, to you, what is directing? This is what I say. So I look directing as, imagine you're trying to create a person, like you're trying to be fucking Dr. Frankenstein, right? So when you want to be a director, or when you're directing and you want to create a film, what I look at is like that. It's first you start with a skeleton, right? So I want to make a movie. So imagine it's a skeleton. And I know that a skeleton has a head, it has 2 legs, 2 arms, rib cage, it has all that. So I have a skeleton in front of me, but I don't have a human being yet. I just have a skeleton. And then what I do is I try to go out and find the best of every department that I can find to add to the skeleton. You know, the best skin, the best hair, the best eyes, the best feet. So every department is... this shit sounds so psychotic as I say it, but every department is an element that I bring together to put together. Because in my mind, I know that I want a beautiful human being, but all I have right now is just a skeleton. So it's like anything. If I bring in the best of everything and I put it together, by the end of it, I have this beautiful human being. But if, let's say, you get great costumes, great set design, great editing, great visual effects, but you fuck up sound, you don't follow through, you don't get a good sound
It's like
operator.
LeBron with a small dick.
You got a botched fucking nose. So the smallest like imperfection of somebody is the difference between saying that somebody's beautiful versus not is having an imperfection, right? Or so is like society would say. But the point is, that's how I view it, that you have to, so if you bring in the best, so when I'm looking at any project and I'm looking at lighting, color, cinematography, editing, musical score, audio, acting, art design, production design, those to me are all elements. And so for me, I know what I want that human being to look like, but all I have when I start is a skeleton. And if it's done right, then the fucking human being I get at the end always is way prettier than what I initially imagined. So to answer your question, for me as a director, a lot of times it comes out even better. It comes out better, and it's a different style.
Of all
it's never
the ideas added, and you're
right.
like, holy shit, I didn't think of this.
Right,
I didn't think of
and
that.
that's
I know exactly what
and
you're
that's
talking
the
about.
thing with film. That's what's so fucking great about collaboration when you're working with people, is because no director. I'm a firm believer. I think directors get way too much fucking credit. You will never see me ever put my fucking name above. I never have, and you cannot find a single film where it says a Ryan Henry Johnston film, because it's fucking pretentious. I get it when you're like in the bigger industry, like when you're Spielberg or Michael Bay, because you get paid. People will buy them, watch the movie because your name's on it. But like these lower films that like people are doing, I don't do that shit,
bro.
because to me, you get way too much fucking credit. The only reason that your film came out and got done was because the team of people that it took to come together and work with you on the film, and a lot of times came together fucking for free and put up with your bullshit. If those people weren't there, if all the fucking people that are on that film set were not with you, you'd just be a fucking dude in a room with an idea. Yep. That's it.
That's what's fucking
I think
crazy?
Directors get way too much.
No, you're right.
Credit,
what's crazy about your description though about being a director? How do you say that word right there? Mosaic. I don't know if you ever read the book Making Movies by Sidney Lumet. I don't know if you know.
I have not. No.
It's a fucking phenomenal book. But anyway, he describes it almost exactly like you do, but as it being a mosaic painting.
Yeah.
And each scene is a tile. And you fucking go to that tile, you know what I mean? And you put whatever you can into it and fucking paint it. And, you have your team involved in it and you put it up. And then, eventually, you have all these fucking scenes and all these. I mean, I'm not doing this fucking.
And then
what
you
it says in the book.
Just
his book. Yeah. But like, I was like, holy shit. But it's kind of like, it kind of reminded me of what you're saying with the body, you know what I mean? And all that shit. But yeah.
So I've always kind of like viewed directing that way myself, for me.
That's cool, man.
So,
I love that a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
it's cool, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Do you have any social medias that you want to promote or fucking people to follow you? I mean, I know we have your website and shit.
So I have my website, ryanhenryjohnston.com. It's great. I go by 3 names because it's like was way easier to like secure an actual like name on IMDb, because there's a shitload of Ryan Johnstons and a Ryan Johnson, as we all know. By ryanhenryjohnston.com, that links at the bottom of my website. Any of those bottom links will hyperlink to my IMDb, my Instagram, Twitter, which I barely use, my Facebook, any kind of like social media, but ryanhenryjohnston.com. I also would highly, highly encourage everybody to check out Falling Flame Pictures as well.
Okay.
Like I said, they're, I'm working with them right now. I've been working in development with them for the last year. They're a fucking phenomenal production company coming up. We've got a lot of projects under the belt and more to come. And so I highly recommend checking them out as well, fallingflamepictures.com. So those are definitely my 2 that I would, myself, and then fallingflamepictures.com. And then the other one I'd also would recommend that I work with a lot of my films. If people like see a lot of the content I've done and they like it, BT Productions, Brian Tucker's production company, he's handled almost all the post-production processing on everything I've ever done. So when it comes to the color and the aesthetics and the visual effects and a lot of the shooting of it, BT Productions. Falling Flame Pictures, BT Productions, ryanhenryjohnston.com.
Yeah, dude, I could talk about film shit, dude, all day,
all fucking day,
whenever.
right?
So you're always welcome back. If you have anything else you ever want to promote, man, just message me, dude, and we'll fucking get you on and shit,
I love
dude.
that. I appreciate you guys so much for having me and fucking talking and chilling and letting me ramble, dude.
No, dude, I feel like I learned a lot, man, and fucking you're a bad motherfucker, man. And
thanks,
I really actually enjoyed working with you on that music video. I think I even mentioned to you after that. Like,
I love that.
You were the AD, right?
I was, yeah.
But I remember your professionalism on that set. Like, you had you had a professionalism, but you were fucking also very fun and funny at the same time. Like, he was the guy with the umbrella on the side of Indian School when we were fucking.
Yeah, dude.
getting
Dude, that was
fucking honked
such a fun video, bro.
I
wanna get
almost,
back
you
on
know
set
what?
again, dude.
I almost fucking died on that set. I felt like the biggest pussy, but I like pretty much almost like had a heat stroke because I was playing the drums, doing blast beats and shit.
Oh, fuck.
And I was one of those things, like, I realized this is completely what you shouldn't do, but I was trying not to be that guy on set where I was like, you know, hey, I'm dying, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
But
right.
anyway,
That makes me
Jesse's-
feel great as the AD. Thank you, because I'm responsible.
no,
for
no,
safety.
listen, but Jesse's girlfriend at the time, she just like kept looking at me like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then finally, she's like, "No, you don't look fine." So she actually like brought me to a room, turned the lights off, fucking iced me, and I
Yeah.
cooled down and shit. But I felt like such a pussy that day on
Yeah.
set because
Well, dude, it was
fucking-
hard as fuck.
It was
because
so hot.
It was
and that
hot as
makeup,
shit.
yeah.
But also, like, that was hard because you guys had all that face makeup.
and I was doing blast
So-
beats. I was all.
Yeah, you were doing that, and then you guys had all the face makeup. So like all your pores were closed up and shit. Like you're like, you know what I'm saying? Like
I
you
had the
make-
long hair and beard at the time too.
Yeah, dude. So you're like, I
Yeah.
remember you like, yeah, that dude. That fucking.
Yeah, I had a
music
blast
video-
though, by the way, and it was funny
Oh,
as
yeah.
fuck.
That was great. My Alexander shot that. Alexander Charles Miller DP'd that with Jesse.
Jesse,
Yeah, Alex is fucking great. Another plug, Thunder Grip and Electric. Rent from them, they're the best.
I think that's where I met Troy.
Okay.
Was Troy there?
What?
Or was
Troy?
it Troy? I'm thinking of his name wrong. Anyway, I'm fucking.
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't know if I
And
know
we got a
what
wrap.
Troy- but anyway, yeah, no, but I really fucking appreciate you guys
Yeah, yeah.
having me
Oh,
on,
yeah,
man.
bro.
I
You want to do shout
really,
outs
really
and shit?
appreciate it.
Do you want to let's talk about Mellow by Design?
For sure.
Yeah. Big shout out to Mellow by Design. They were cool enough to send us a really cool care package full of a bunch of goodies. So if you guys want to learn about CBD and the benefits of CBD health, make sure you guys go check out mellowbydesign.com. You can find them on social media too. They hooked us up with a bunch of all kinds of different things from like butters and stuff like that. And yeah, so click to find your mellow.
Fuck yeah. Do you want to do any more shout outs?
Oh yeah, definitely. Check out Tales from the Flip Side. We got a bunch of cool stuff going on over there. We've got like 7 days worth of content, or 7 days of content. There's something every night, multiple shows on some other nights. Awesome interviews by big heavyweights in the comic and comic speculation industry. And we got some cool stuff over there that will really help you if you're looking to maybe flip a couple books, make some money, and also if you just want to learn some cool information about what's going on in the comic world. So,
Fuck yeah.
Tales from
Sweet,
the Flip
man.
Side.
Actually, can I get that slate really quick?
Yeah.
Okay, man. Yeah, dude. We'll have you back on anytime you want, bro.
No,
Really
dude, I
appreciate your
fucking would
time.
love to come, man. I really appreciate that. It's
Awesome.
fucking awesome.
And that is a wrap. Do you have any more questions or anything? Okay, good. That is a wrap on episode 89 of The Bogcast.
Bang!